Farm Week is a production of the Mississippi State University Extension Service.
Today on Farm Week, it's a feature story edition of our show. You'll go to Minnesota to learn about tile drainage. This method of field drainage isn't as familiar in the South as it is in the Midwest.
In southern gardening, round flowers. You'll see two of Gary's favorites.
Our first story today is about wood pellets. This source of heat is renewable and it makes use of trees that are big enough to thin but not big enough for lumber. Wood pellets can heat homes or be used to generate electricity on a large scale.
The one we currently have in the office is capable of heating 3,500 square foot residents. We burn our stove every morning here, as you know, the weather dictates. We burn less than a bag every 2 days. Retail price on that bag is around $4.50 to $5 a bag. It can save the homeowner a considerable amount of money by converting from propane, for example, over to wood pellets. There's no smoke. You need to clean the appliance about once a week.
Good day, everyone. I'm Leighton Spann.
And I'm Artis Ford. Welcome to Farm Week. Today it's a feature story edition of our show.
And our first feature story this week is about wood pellets. It is a relatively new forest product as far as Mississippi is concerned. Pellets are already commonly used as fuel in other areas of the country and the world. They have become the greener alternative as far as producing heat and power. 2 of the 80 pellet mills in the United States are located in Amory and Wiggins, Mississippi. Mississippi State University has assisted this industry with its research on the ash content of the various types of wood that can be used to make pellets. This story first aired last August. Stay tuned to the end for some important updates. The first maker of wood pellets in Mississippi was CKS Energy in Amory, now known as Enviva Pellets Amory. Enviva makes its pellets from wood shavings and sawdust augmented by wood chips. The customer base for the Northeast Mississippi-made pellets includes utility companies in Europe as well as in the upper Midwest of the United States. The pellets from Amory are used as fuel for plants that produce electricity. The second manufacturer of pellets in the state went into operation in 2009. Piney Woods Pellets is located in Wiggins in South Mississippi.
And they're doing something a little different. They're producing both some pellets for energy, but they're also producing pellets for animal bedding and other uses. So they're using a different feedstock than the one in Amory, and really capturing a market.
We buy or purchase our raw material in chip form. Probably 60–70% of the chips we're currently getting are actually chipped in the woods. And so the log has to be harvested, has to be moved to a chipper unit where it's frailed or ring debarked. From that point it goes through the chipper. Chips are loaded on a truck, they're delivered to our site. We offload them here with either a truck tipper or live bottom trailers. And from that point we take the Mississippi chip and put it into our system and begin the process.
The pellet manufacturing process in Wiggins, Mississippi is computer controlled in a state-of-the-art facility that attracts visitors from around the nation and the world. The plant, as originally constructed, includes 3 pellet mills and was consuming about 360 tons of wood chips per day at the time of our visit. That's between 15 and 20 truckloads of chips per day, or 120,000 tons of wood chips in a year. The first step in making wood pellets is to uniformly dry the raw material or chips to a low moisture content. Low moisture content is one reason wood pellets burn so well. From the dryer, the material is fed into a hammer mill that makes the wood particles a consistent size. The next stop is the actual pellet mill. The particles are placed under high pressure and heated to a temperature of 200 degrees Fahrenheit. The process causes the lignin, the natural glue in wood that holds it together, to briefly liquefy. The material is forced through a series of dies or shaping devices to form the wood pellets.
We get about 52,000 pounds of pressure per square inch inside the pellet mill, where the meal is forced through quarter-inch holes in a die. Then we extrude that like spaghetti out the back side, where knives cut it to length, and it drops into the hot pellet conveying system, takes it up to the ambient air cooler that you have on video, where it's held for a specific amount of time, and that's controlled by electronics. Then the cool product goes into one or two storage bins, depending on whether we're making a fuel pellet that's 100% southern pine, or a fuel pellet that is 75% southern pine and 25% hardwood.
The last step in the process is packaging. The pellets come back into the building from the outside silos and are packaged in 40-pound bags and placed on pallets. Each pallet contains 50 bags or 1 ton of wood pellets. The pallets can be covered with an opaque hood that allows the pellets to be safely stored outside. Piney Woods made pellets are burned for heat. The primary market for the Wiggins, Mississippi pellets are home and business owners in the United States who have pellet stoves or heaters such as this. This unit is located in the lobby of the plant building.
The one we currently have in the office is capable of heating 3,500 square foot residents. We burn our stove every morning here, as you know, the weather dictates. We burn less than a bag every 2 days. Retail price on that bag is around $4.50 to $5 a bag. It can save the homeowner a considerable amount of money by converting from propane, for example, over to wood pellets. There's no smoke. You need to clean the appliance about once a week. You'll get about a double handful of ash out of it, wipe your glass off, turn the thermostat back up, and you're good to go for another week. Our company philosophy is that we sell all of our product domestically. Our goal is to reduce our dependency upon foreign oil. Each bag, 40-pound bag, on average contains 320,000 BTUs of energy. Each ton, which is 40-pound bags, 1,600,000 BTUs of energy, which equates to 2.5 barrels of foreign oil. So for every ton of pellets consumed in this country, regardless of the manufacturer, we save 2.5 barrels of foreign oil.
Rising prices for fossil fuels such as fuel oil and natural gas are leading to increased interest in wood pellet heating. Concern over global climate change is also stimulating interest in wood pellets and other carbon-neutral energy sources. Piney Woods pellets are sold all over the country, according to plant manager Terry Dunlap.
We ship to some distribution centers for some of these big box stores, and then they ship them all over the country. You will find in some of the major big box stores around the country Piney Woods pellets with tomorrow's energy fuel pellets. Like for instance in the Northwest and the Western states, the consumers there really like a pine pellet, a softwood pellet. And the consumers on the East Coast and in the Northeast and the Midwest prefer a blended pellet or a hardwood pellet, so therefore the two different types of fuels.
It's going to be a growing industry here in the state simply because of the growth we have and the material that we have within the state. As a benefit, the state has fewer people, so we have more trees.
It's 100% natural. The lignin God placed inside that wood fiber is what binds it all together. And when you can convert that and use good manufacturing practices to do so and keep our Mississippi loggers in the woods, doing what Mississippians know how to do best, and taking what they do and converting it to a product that can help reduce our dependency on foreign oil is very self-gratifying to me. I know what this product can do for the home consumer.
The Piney Woods plant was originally built to produce over 100,000 tons of pellets each year and employ 25 to 27 people. It is owned by Picayune native Osmond Crosby and his wife Debbie. From Wiggins, Mississippi, I'm Leighton Spann reporting. And if you're interested in watching this story again, you can see it on our website, farmweek.msucares.com. We'll have contact information on both of those pellet mills. Now, a lot has changed since we first aired that story last August. Piney Wood Pellets of Wiggins, Mississippi was purchased in October by Enviva LP. It's known now as Enviva Pellets Wiggins. Enviva says it plans to triple the Wiggins plant capacity to 150,000 tons a year, and that will create 22 new jobs at the plant. Another 30 jobs are estimated to be created in the logging and forestry supply chain. So both Mississippi pellet mills are owned now by this Richmond, Virginia-based firm. The company plans to double capacity at the Amory plant. Enviva's website says that by the end of next year, it will have the capacity to produce more than 1.3 million tons of wood pellets a year, and it will need that capacity since it has signed a contract that happened last August to fuel a West European electric utility with 1.2 million tons of wood pellets a year. A lot of wood pellets and Mississippi product going all over the world.
Well, it just goes to show that we are in a global market, that you can actually take, and we do have the wood fiber, that's why they're here. So, and that wood fiber will be going to Western Europe to make electricity.
Well, it's time now, artists, for our trivia quiz on Farm Week, and this week it is about how many beef cattle operations there are in Mississippi according to the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Now, this includes every operation from one head to those with more than 1,000. So, is the answer 8,100, 12,500, 17,800, or 21,200? I'll have the answer after today's Southern Gardening segment.
There are many ways to add variety to your landscape. One way is to vary the shapes of the flowers. In this week's Southern Gardening segment, Extension horticulturist Dr. Gary Bachman shows us some plants with round flowers that can add garden interest.
Just looking at all these beautiful flowering plants lets you know that summer's here. Not only are the colors gorgeous, but the flower shapes also add interest. I want to share some of my favorite round flowers today at Coach's Cedar Creek Nursery in Loosedale. For round flowers, nothing beats that landscape stand by the marigold for hot weather performance. The Janie series is a French marigold, known botanically as Tagetes patula. The compact plants grow 8 to 10 inches tall and wide and hold their crusted flowers above the foliage. Colors include bright yellow and deep orange. The Janie mix is fantastic for long season color when mass planted. Another favorite marigold series are the Antigua hybrids. These belong to the African marigolds, Tagetes erecta. The plants will grow up to 16 inches tall with flowers displayed above the foliage. The yellow and orange flowers resemble colorful pom-poms and are up to 3 inches across. And I have to include Amazon dianthus. The round flower heads are a mass of smaller flowers having serrated edged petals. The colors neon purple and neon cherry shine like beacons. Rose magic flowers start out white and transition to pink and finally rose. Dianthus are typically cool season plants, but Amazon dianthus is a strong summer performer. The only real maintenance is deadheading to keep the plants tidy and the blooms repeating all season long. I'm Gary Bachman for Southern Gardening.
Gary says, don't buy flowers just for the color, but look for that flower shape.
Thanks, artist. Well, it's time now though for the answer to our trivia quiz on Farm Week. Again, it's about the number of cattle operations in Mississippi. How many are there? Well, the answer is there were 17,800 in 2007. That's the figure from the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Once again, this basically includes all operations raising any number of cattle in the state. How does that compare to other years? Well, there were 31,000 such operations in 1987.
We're going to pause now for a break on Farm Week. Coming up, we'll have the calendar and one more feature story for you. We'll have a kind of drainage system that's not familiar to southern farmers, but it could make a big difference in the Gulf of Mexico dead zone.
Prepared? Absolutely. It's so tempting to skip the conditioning when what I really want is the adrenaline rush. But without stretching, you can sure get hurt. Training builds stamina and gives you the endurance to bounce back from the twists and strains along the way. So yes, I prepared for my marriage. Until death do us part. Prepare for your marriage.
Before we get back to our last story, let's look at the Farm Week calendar. A Mississippi Market Maker Training Workshop takes place June 14th. The location is the Mississippi State University Coastal Research and Extension Center on Pops Ferry Road at Biloxi. Market Maker is an internet tool linking growers and producers with grocery stores, food processors, and specialty outlets. Mississippi State University is holding its annual North and South Dairy Field Days in late June. Hours are 8:30 a.m. to lunch at both field days. Dairymen will be updated on interstate milk shipments and changes in the pasteurized milk rules. Strategies to meet the proposed changes in somatic cell count regulations will also be covered. The North Dairy Field Day will be held Tuesday, June 28th. The location is the North Mississippi Research and Extension Center at Verona. The South Field Day will be the next day, Wednesday, June 29th. The location is the Southwest Event Center at Tylertown. Go to our Farm Week website at farmweek.msucares.com for information on these and other events. Now check out this Farm Week snapshot.
Well, our last feature story today is about a field drainage system that does its job from the inside. It's called tile drainage because it used to be installed using clay drainage tile. It's been primarily seen in the Midwest, but its use is known in other areas. It not only drains land, but with some modifications, it can keep moisture in the ground. It can also improve water quality locally and in the Gulf of Mexico. Market to Market's Andrew Bott reports.
You'll be with a producer and you'll look at the corn crop curling up from drought stress, and you look at the outlet pipe and it's running water, and you ask them why they let that happen, why they let the water go. And you usually get one of two answers. Either one, I never knew I had a choice, or they'll say, well, I always wondered about that. And so
Charlie Schaefer is president of the AgriDrain Corporation. Over 30 years ago, Schaefer and his brothers started the business as drainage contractors, installing tile and doing waterline work. Today, they say that while they are not the largest, they are the most complete supplier of water management devices for agriculture.
It's always been our opinion that we could do a better job of designing and managing drainage systems. My gosh, we're steering tractors with satellites, and we unlock cars from anywhere in the world. And so it seems ridiculous that we wouldn't manage outflow of subsurface drainage systems.
Primitive tile drainage systems date back to as early as 200 BC, but John Johnston is considered the father of American tile drainage. In 1838, Johnston tiled a marshy, low-lying 10-acre plot on his farm in New York, and, with the help of manure for fertilizer, saw his wheat harvest increase from a meager 5 bushels per acre to 50. Today, estimates are that over 50 million acres in the Corn Belt are drained through subsurface tiling. The innovation has enabled an increase in both cropland and yields, but not without a price. According to a 2008 U.S. Geological Survey report, agriculture in the Mississippi River Basin is 70% responsible for nitrogen and phosphorus entering the Gulf of Mexico. Research indicates that the two chemicals are the major contributors to an area of hypoxia in the Gulf known as the dead zone.
In agriculture, nobody wants to be too heavily regulated, but again, we all want to do the right thing, and if we can truly generate a benefit from a practice that makes so much sense, and we can improve water quality downstream, then it seems like that's a concept that should move forward.
Schaefer believes his business already manufactures a product that could be used to reduce nitrate and phosphorus pollution while increasing yields. It's called a water level control structure, which traditionally has been used to manage levels in surface water such as ponds and wetlands. While AgriDrain has been manufacturing water control structures for 30 years, the structures have only recently been recognized in the Midwest as a possible means of controlling pollution from subsurface drainage. The process is fairly simple. Subsurface water flows into the structure through underground tiles. Partitions, which are referred to as logs, can be added or removed to increase or decrease the level of the water table behind the structure. During winter, the water table is raised to restore soil moisture and decrease the amount of nitrates and phosphorus being released. In the spring, logs are removed, lowering the water table to make spring fieldwork possible. Once the crop has been planted, logs are added to raise the water table for the growing crop. During the growing season, the water table can be raised or lowered depending on weather conditions. In the fall, the water table can be lowered further. Once the harvest and fieldwork are completed, logs are added and the water table is again raised to near the surface of the soil. The goal of the year-long cycle is twofold. By increasing soil moisture, crops should do better during the summer when they need water, and through a reduction in the amount of water drained, there should be less nitrates and phosphorus entering rivers and streams.
We've seen about a 50% reduction in water flow leaving the system, so that's less water going into the rivers and streams. And we've also seen reductions on annual loads of nitrogen and phosphorus. We've seen about a 40% reduction in nitrate loads leaving the system, and we've seen about a 60% reduction in total phosphorus loads leaving the system.
Jeff Strock, a soil scientist with the University of Minnesota, measures the pollutants leaving farms with water level control structures. While tests showing reduction in nitrate and phosphate levels seem conclusive, measuring drainage management's impact on yields has been difficult. In order for the system to work properly, spring rains are needed to raise the water table.
When we look at the yield benefits in those areas, we actually see a neutral to slightly positive increase in yield across these sites at these 5 different states. We've been a little bit disappointed in those yield responses over that study period, but one again needs to realize that we're at the mercy of Mother Nature, and we've had across the northern corn belt a fairly dry stretch over the last 3 summers.
But studies conducted on Brian Hicks' farm in southwest Minnesota in 2009 did indicate increased yields are achievable through drainage management. Besides monitoring the effect of controlled drainage on water quality, Hicks has set aside a field for side-by-side yield comparisons.
So we have a side-by-side comparison where we have conventional free drainage and we have controlled drainage. The controlled drainage averaged about 223 bushels, and the conventionally drained side of the field averaged about 203 bushels. So we saw about that 10% increase in yield on that particular practice in that field. And then,
for Brian Hicks, whose farm has been in the family for 4 generations, it's a win-win situation. Increasing yields while at the same time protecting resources important to farming.
As farmers, we need to tell our story. We need to show the public that what we're doing out here in southwest Minnesota, Iowa, Wisconsin, what we're doing out here as producers isn't damaging the environment. I think we as farmers are probably the first environmentalists. It's in our best interest to make sure that the soil, which I consider our factory, is performing to the best that it can. So managing our nutrients, managing our chemicals, it's all in our best interest to take care of those assets that we have.
We would look at how much water we'd want to remove out of that area.
Matt Helmers is an associate professor and extension ag engineer at Iowa State University. He's working to raise awareness of the importance of designing drainage systems that reduce or minimize nitrate loss.
And that drainage rate is a function of how...
Helmers believes that while a water level control structure could be part of the solution, it's not a silver bullet.
Right now we're working in a framework of voluntary practices. Whether that changes into the future will probably be dictated by some policy, potential policy. And so all of the technologies we have out there have some promise and probably work better in some areas of the landscape. So I think that we need to look at all practices that may be available to help us maintain economic vitality of our agricultural production, but protect those downstream water supplies.
For Market to Market, I'm Andrew Bott.
And if you're interested in watching this story again on tile drainage, go to our website, farmweek.msucares.com. We'll also have links to the Market to Market website where you can see the story as well and read the script. Again, farmweek.msucares.com. And so they have seen some achievable increases in yield.
Mm-hmm. And my wife's grandfather actually had a variation of this involving some terraces on his farm where the terraces needed a way to drain, so he installed the tile drainage to make that happen. Well, we are at the end of Farm Week for this week. On our next show, we'll look back at the year 2010 for the Dixie National Sale of Junior Champions in Jackson, Mississippi.
It's the pinnacle of the livestock junior show circuit in the state. The sale provides college scholarships for those who made the sale and those who didn't.
In Southern Gardening, accessible gardens, raised beds are the way to go for gardeners who may have physical limitations and for those who don't. For the rest of the Farm Week crew, I'm Artis Ford.
And I'm Leighton Spann. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.